In 2007, the world was living in an illusion. Glass towers touched the sky, fortunes were rising overnight, and everyone believed the good times would never end. The stock market was roaring, housing prices skyrocketed, and banks were lending money to anyone with a pulse. It looked like a golden age of wealth, but beneath the surface, the system was quietly rotting. It was a game of greed, deception, and blind confidence. And when the illusion finally shattered, it unleashed the worst economic disaster since the Great Depression. This was the Great Recession. If you're watching this, show some love, hit that subscribe button, because what you're about to hear is the story they never told you, the one that shows just how fragile the world of money really is. It began with the American dream, the promise that anyone could own a home. Banks saw an opportunity. They started lending to everyone, people with bad credit, no savings, no income. They called it subprime lending. To most, it looked like kindness, a chance for everyone to have their own piece of happiness. But it wasn't kindness. It was business, ruthless, mathematical business. Because behind every loan, there was a banker earning a commission, a broker getting a bonus, and an investor on Wall Street turning those loans into gold. Or so they thought. They called them mortgage-backed securities, a fancy name for bundles of home loans packaged and sold like candy to investors around the world. The logic was simple. If one homeowner defaulted, others would still pay, so the investment looked safe. But no one stopped to ask what would happen if everyone stopped paying. The machine kept growing. Wall Street made billions, banks made billions. Even ordinary people felt rich because their homes were rising in value every single year. And the more money people made, the more they borrowed. It was a pyramid built on dreams and debt. Behind closed doors, a few people saw the cracks forming. Michael Burry, a quiet hedge fund manager, noticed that many of the mortgages being sold were pure garbage. No income verification, no collateral, no stability. Just blind faith in rising prices. So he made a move no one understood. He bet against the housing market. Wall Street laughed. They called him crazy. But when the bubble burst, he made hundreds of millions and became one of the few men who saw the apocalypse before it arrived. But most didn't. By 2008, the debt mountain began to shake. Homeowners started defaulting. Banks began to panic. The entire system, built on trust and leverage, started collapsing like dominoes. Lehman Brothers, one of the biggest investment banks in the world, fell first. Then came Bear Stearns. Then Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, AIG, giants that were once untouchable, suddenly gasping for air. Within weeks, trillions of dollars vanished from the global economy. People lost jobs, homes, and entire life savings. Overnight, billion-dollar corporations turned to dust. If you're still here, hit like and share this video. Because what you're hearing isn't just history. It's a warning. The same forces that caused that collapse, greed, ignorance, blind trust, still exist today. Governments scrambled to save the system. The U.S. Federal Reserve stepped in with massive bailouts. Trillions of dollars were pumped into the economy to stop the bleeding. But the damage was already done. Millions of families lost everything. In America alone, 8.7 million jobs disappeared. Over 6 million homes were foreclosed. Around the world, economies crashed. From London to Tokyo, fear spread faster than the virus of greed that caused it. And yet, in the ashes, a new kind of wealth was born. While most people suffered, a few saw opportunity. Billionaires like Warren Buffett and private equity titans began buying assets at record lows. Real estate, stocks, businesses, all sold for pennies on the dollar. They didn't panic, they positioned themselves. And when the world recovered, they became richer than ever. That's the brutal truth. In every crisis, there are losers, and there are those who understand that wealth doesn't vanish, it just moves. The Great Recession taught a brutal lesson about human nature. When times are good, people forget fear. They stop asking questions. They start believing the market only goes up. And that's when the trap is set. The same confidence that builds wealth also destroys it. That's the paradox of prosperity. But there's something else, something powerful that rose from that collapse. A new generation of thinkers, investors, and entrepreneurs who swore they'd never let it happen again. They studied the crisis, they learned the patterns, and they built systems stronger than before. The rise of fintech, blockchain, decentralized finance, all born from the lessons of that pain. The Great Recession wasn't just a collapse, it was a rebirth. If you're still watching, watch till the end, because in the next chapter we'll go even deeper into how the Great Recession reshaped power, politics, and the psychology of money. And the next collapse will only spare those who understand the last one. When the dust settled after 2008, the world was different. The streets were quiet. The screens on Wall Street no longer flashed green, and the towers of finance, once symbols of invincibility, looked more like monuments to arrogance. But from that silence came a truth too loud to ignore. The system had been built on lies, and those lies had a price. The Great Recession didn't just destroy banks, it destroyed trust. Trust in the markets, trust in government, trust in the very idea that hard work alone could make you safe. Millions had played by the rules and still lost everything. And that realization changed an entire generation. In the ruins, governments rushed to rebuild. Central banks slashed interest rates to zero, printing trillions in new money to keep economies alive. They called it quantitative easing, a complicated phrase that simply meant this: create more money and hope it keeps the system breathing. But here's the twist. The money didn't go to the people. It went to the markets, to the same institutions that caused the collapse. Stocks soared again. The rich recovered fast, the poor slower. The middle class? Many never recovered at all. Yet out of that injustice, something new was born, a movement. People began questioning everything. What is money? Who controls it? Why does the system always favor the top 1%? And in that questioning came ideas that would change the future: digital finance, cryptocurrency, decentralization. Bitcoin was born in 2009, right in the ashes of the Great Recession. Its mysterious creator, Satoshi Nakamoto, encoded a message inside its first block. The Times, 3rd January 2009. Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks. It wasn't just a message, it was a rebellion. A digital middle finger to the broken system that had failed the world. While Wall Street was rebuilding its empire with government money, a new revolution was brewing in the shadows. A revolution built not on banks, but on code. But make no mistake, even as new systems rose, the same patterns repeated. The rich got richer. The ultra-wealthy, those who had the vision, courage, and timing, bought everything while prices were low. Real estate, stocks, companies, tech. The Great Recession became a great transfer of wealth. For those who understood leverage, debt, and patience, it was a decade-defining opportunity. Warren Buffett once said, "Be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful." During the crisis, he invested billions in companies like Goldman Sachs and General Electric, while everyone else was panicking. Those moves earned him billions more when the recovery came. That's not luck, that's mastery. And that's the real message here. Every collapse hides opportunity. Every recession writes the rules for the next era of wealth. The Great Recession didn't end the game. It reset it. If you're still watching, don't just scroll, listen. The same story is repeating. The same warning signs, the same greed, the same blindness. History doesn't repeat perfectly, but it rhymes, and those who recognize the pattern win the game. By the mid-2010s, Wall Street was booming again. Tech companies like Apple, Amazon, and Google grew into trillion-dollar empires. Venture capital exploded. Startups turned teenagers into millionaires. The same risk-taking energy that once crashed the housing market was now fueling Silicon Valley. But this time, the risk wasn't in mortgages. It was in data, innovation, and algorithms. The economy became digital, and those who adapted, those who learned the lessons of 2008, built the next empire. Still, the scars remained. The Great Recession had done more than destroy wealth. It had exposed something deep in human nature, the endless hunger for more. That hunger creates growth, but when left unchecked, it creates bubbles, and bubbles always burst. Here's the secret. Every boom carries the seed of its own collapse. Every collapse carries the seed of its next boom. The cycle never ends. The rich don't try to stop it. They study it, they ride it, and that's what separates them from everyone else. So what did the Great Recession really teach us? It taught us that money isn't real. Confidence is. The system runs on belief. When people believe in growth, they invest. When they lose faith, the system crashes. It's not just numbers, it's psychology. The most powerful currency on earth isn't the dollar or the euro, it's trust. The Great Recession reshaped power. It created a new elite, the ones who understood information, timing, and patience. It gave rise to data-driven investors, algorithmic traders, and global influencers who moved markets with a single tweet. It created billionaires out of ideas, and yet it also left millions behind. The wealth gap widened like a canyon, dividing those who learned from the crisis and those who were crushed by it. But here's where it gets inspiring. Out of every collapse comes creation. New businesses, new technology, new mindsets. People started educating themselves, breaking free from the old systems. Financial education became the new gold. People realized they couldn't just work for money, they had to understand it. The Great Recession woke up a generation that had been sleeping in comfort. It made them question everything. And that's where real change begins. If this story hit you, smash that like button, share this video, and subscribe, because knowledge like this should never die in silence. The Great Recession wasn't just a story of greed and collapse. It was a test and a lesson. It showed us that power belongs to those who prepare when others ignore. It reminded us that money is a game played by those who know the rules. And in that game, the winners aren't the ones who never lose. They're the ones who know how to rise again. So the next time you hear talk of a crash, a recession, or a market collapse, don't panic. Study it. Learn from it. Because the next era of wealth will be built the same way as the last, in the fire of crisis. This is Blood and Fortune, and the story of the Great Recession is really the story of how the powerful are born.